Hello and good morning. Let's take a look at today's bell work. We're in week 7, quarter 2, and today is Wednesday, so your bell work should be right here at the bottom of your page. So this one right here, it says, is it a parallelogram? Because that symbol right there means parallelogram. And the answer is why? Well, this one right here is a parallelogram because the diagonals bisect each other. In other words, this part from here to here is equal to this part. Okay, and this one, according to that one mark, is equal to this one. So, yes, parallelogram, because diagonals bisect each other. And there's that word right there. And bisect means what? Halfway. Okay? This one right here, this side is equal to this side. These are alternating interior angles, and it says nothing about alternating interior angles. So I would say no. And the one I think they were shooting for is one pair of sides, both parallel and congruent. Two things here. So these are congruent, but it doesn't say they're parallel. So if you wanted to make it work, you would put parallel here. And therefore you would have equal and parallel. And that is one of the ways to prove it. But for this one right here, the answer was no. It says find x to make it a parallelogram. Well, these are diagonals here, and I missed those, should have been equal. And these are equal too. Okay, so you're going to set 8x is equal to this one. And then you have to be able to work it out. Okay, so this is your geometry. The question is, can you do the algebra? Well, on this one, I would subtract 3x from both sides because it's smaller. And then divide by 5. And 5 divided by 5 is 1. So x equals 1. And that will make it a parallelogram. So if you wanted to check it, 3 times 1 is 3, and 5 makes 8. And 8 times 1 is 8, and therefore they'd be equal. And the diagonals would bisect each other. All right, what I want you to do is on a new sheet of paper, I want you to turn to your neighbor, and one of you has to decide who's going to be the leader here. And the two of you are going to put together the 5 properties and 5 ways to prove parallelogram. Okay, so we're going to take a few minutes, maybe 2 or 3 minutes to do this. So on a new sheet of paper, let's write these down. All right, so the properties are OOO, DC. In other words, opposite sides, or parallel, opposite sides, or congruent, opposite angles, or congruent, diagonals bisect each other. We use that one on the bell work, and consecutive angles or supplementary. Remember Superman, 180? Okay, say that to yourself. The 5 ways to prove it is show that opposite angles are congruent, show that diagonals bisect each other, okay? Show that one pair of sides is parallel and congruent. Show that opposite sides are congruent. Opposite sides are congruent. And there's one more. When you think about it. Diagonals, opposite sides, opposite angles. And there's one more. I can't quite put my finger on it, so we'll do it together in class. All right. On a new sheet of paper, or I guess you can use the same sheet of paper. All right, turn back now from your neighbor and look up here. I want you to go from memory. I gave you these yesterday, and this is EOC stuff that you need to know from memory. So what are parallel lines? They never intersect. They never touch. Okay? Same distance apart. Same distance apart. What is a line segment? It's part of a line, okay? And it has two endpoints. What is a point? A point is a location. There's no size to it. Remember? No big point and no small point. It is a location. A line doesn't bend. It's straight. And it goes on in both directions indefinitely. All right, that was from memory. That was your memory workout for today. Let's talk about today's work. So you have a worksheet here, and I'm going to give it to you, so pay attention, because the better you pay attention, the easier it will be. It says determine if the quadrilateral is a parallelogram. Remember, there's 5 ways, okay, and I want you to write all 5 of them here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What are the 5 ways? Well, one of them is diagonals bisect each other. That would be this one. And I want you to write it. Okay, so say yes or no, and then give me a reason. This one right here is consecutive angles have to be supplementary. So the question is, does this plus this add up to 180? And the answer is yes. Okay, that is correct. These two do add up to 180, but we don't know about these other two here. Okay, and from looking at the diagram, we're going to say no on that one. This one right here is 170, so that's not even supplementary. All right, let's move down here. The question is, what must x be in order to be a quadrilateral? Well, first of all, these two have to add up to 180. And opposite angles have to be equal. So you're going to say 5y is equal to 60. You could also say 5y plus 3x plus 60 is equal to 180. Supplementary, Superman. The problem is you have an x and a y. So you have to first divide by 5 to get y, and then plug it in here to get x. Okay, so make sure you understand that. You got 2 equations here. This one right here is alternating interior. So these are going to be equal. So 45 is going to be equal to this, and then you got to know how to solve it. Well, you're going to divide by 5, and then you're going to take the square root. All right, that's enough on that side, and you can try those. On the back side, you got a little more review, which is Pythagorean's theorem. Now notice that this is a right triangle. So right now you're going to put a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Write that on your paper so you have it. And remember, I want you to color the L to get credit. See this right here? This is an L. And since they give you all 3 of them, the L goes together. So it's going to be 6 squared plus 8 squared. Does that equal 9 squared? And then you're going to work it out and see if this equals 81. If they're both 81, you're going to say yes. If they're not the same, then you're going to say no. And then the last part right here, and yes, you've had this before, you're going to go ahead and color your L. And I want to see that. Put an X here. And remember, the L goes together. Those are your legs. So 4 squared plus 8 squared equals x squared. And then you're going to work this out and get the square root of 16 plus 64 and use your calculator. And I want to see the work. All right, let's turn our attention now to MCR. So guys, if you're following me and you need MCR, this is where it's at, okay? So let's take a look here. Well, we're in week 7, quarter 2. And today is down at the bottom. This one right here, you multiply straight across, but you can reduce any top with any bottom. And so I knocked out the 2's. This one right here, 7 goes into 7 once, 7 goes into 35 5 times. I have 2 x's at the top. My z can go, my y can go, and then one of these x's is going to go. So at the top, I'm left with 5x over, and then down here, I'm left with y squared, and I think that's it. This one right here, you have to factor. So this bottom part right here, or the top part, you're going to take out of x, and you're left with x plus 1. This bottom part right here, you're going to get x1 and x7, and they're both pluses. And once you do that, this cancels here. Okay? And so your final answer, it looks like, is going to be 1 over x plus 1. Today's work is right here. Make sure you check your answers if you need to and ask questions and ask for help. Tomorrow we'll go on to divide it. Have a good day.